Local doctors have a message for frustrated wives. You are not alone. Doctors say the stereotype that men won't go to the doctor is often true, and it often requires a woman to get her husband checked. Tonight, we share a local success story, a man who finally took his wife's advice. As 13 WHAM's Evan Dawson reports, seeing a doctor saved his life.
Rich Jones feels as strong as ever today, but 8 years ago, he had a burning pain in his shoulder. He was a weightlifter, and he did not want to follow his wife's advice.
My wife was telling me I should go see a doctor. I was always telling her, well, I've done things to myself before. I've hurt myself, I'm pretty good at doing that.
After 2 months, he agreed to see a doctor, and what was causing his pain was no weightlifting injuries.
They did sonogram, or they looked inside me and could tell my spleen had grown 3 times its size. I was pressing on my ribs as well as my stomach.
Rich called his children and family with the news. He had leukemia, but doctors had caught it just early enough to save his life without a bone marrow transplant.
It was not only was it just pain, but it was fevers, phantom fevers, exhaustion. The signs were all there. I just wasn't looking at them.
It's a story that Dr. Tom Campbell at the University of Rochester hears often. Rich might not have survived without his wife.
And why married men live longer than those who are single, divorced, or widowed is because they get them in, they get treatment and the like.
I think that if I waited much longer, I would have gone in on a gurney, and then I would have found out the hard way.
Rich's leukemia remains in remission today, and with medication, his outlook is good. He's still working a full schedule as a program director at Networks Corporation. But he hopes all men, married or not, will learn from his near miss.
It's a copay or it's a visit cost, but if they can catch something early, then you can save your life in the long run.
And doctors tell us it's true. Single men have shorter life expectancy than married men. They urge family and friends of single men to help make sure he is staying on top of his health and seeing a doctor when necessary. Rich says this comes down to one important fact here. Men know that their wives are always right, and if she says go to the doctor, it is time to go to the doctor.
I was thinking the same thing, and don't argue, right?
Don't argue. He's glad he finally won.
I give him credit for sharing his story. It probably wasn't easy to come forward and say, listen, this is something I ignored, and my wife told me to take care of it.
Well, he says he's feeling very, very good 8 years after it happened, and one of the things that makes him feel good is the idea that perhaps other men out there will see his story and say, you know what, I don't need to self-diagnose. It doesn't, make me weaker to go in and see a doctor, and maybe my wife is right after all.
Maybe?
Maybe.
You should know better.
I do know better. You have to tell me.
All right. Thank you, Evan. Good story.
Hey, you don't have